Hello and welcome to Doing Time, where humans talk about their experiences in a psych ward. Today we have Chicago comedian Meg Indurti. Hi, Meg.
Hi. Hi, Drew.
Hi.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited to have you on, dude. This is your third podcast today.
Yeah, I know. It's like, that's how you know you're an unemployed comedian. You've done 3 podcasts in one day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe I can squeeze one in after this.
Yeah, exactly. Just too busy. But I'm really excited to have you on, and so honored that you said yes, because people obviously don't know, but I was really happy that you messaged me and said that you weren't going to tell me you've been in a psych ward, because I made a post to comedians, and I was like, hey, if you've ever been, I thought it was the perfect target, because a lot of comedians have experienced mental health.
Got your market right there.
I was in the demographic I was looking for, yes, but I was really excited that you approached me and said, I listened to it, and now I'm more open to it because I listened to your podcast. So that made me feel really good. You made my life. I was so happy. Because you're one of the few people, and not outing other comedians, but you were one of the few people at Men Comedy that I've never gotten a fake or weird vibe from.
Oh my God,
really,
that's so crazy because I'm so fake. This is all not real.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited that it's
great.
And we've always kind of related and stuff.
Yeah.
So, so the first question I always ask, which gets right into everything, but buckle up, is how much time have you done? So in a hospital or therapy or whatever.
Oh, in hospital or at therapy?
So hospital or intensive therapy, IOP, because some people haven't been in a hospital, but you have, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I would a week in a psych ward, a weekend at a hospital, and then I've been in therapy on and off for the past 4 years. Not intensive therapy, just a weekly therapy sessions, kind of thing. Yeah, for the past few years. Yeah.
Cool. And where did you stay at?
It was a hospital in Williamsburg, Virginia, Colonial Williamsburg. That's where I went to college.
Okay.
In the CW. So it was there. I don't remember the name of it now because it was in 2014 or something.
Right. But were you in college?
I was in college. I was a senior in college. I can talk about it.
Go into whatever.
No, I was I've been I was going back and forth with depression my whole life, or I thought it was depression. I was just I just feel super sad and I don't know why. And I thought it was a personal failure of mine. I would have these I was it's so weird. I'm afraid of needles. So I've never done anything cut myself or but it's I remember actively thinking I want to die. And I wish every time I was on the street, I would be oh, I wish a car would just hit me. And then I would try to, even my humor is my defense mechanism. So I would even try to make it funny in my head of oh, but it would be an ice cream truck, and that would be kind of hilarious, but it would also be effective and sad. And so it's really fucked up. Thoughts like that. And there was a huge railroad station, train station. I don't want to say railroad station.
Right. Yeah.
And I would always, I would walk by it every day, and I'd be oh, maybe one day. And it's so terrible. And I knew that was the wrong way to think and perceive life, but I just didn't know what to do. And I got on this medication called Effexor, which
I used to take that, and it
was horrible. Because I was always the kind of person that did too much. I was in all these classes, I was taking 18 credits, and then I was also doing all these clubs and helping run them and volunteering and all this shit, and I just kept myself busy so I couldn't be alone with my thoughts and be depressed.
Dude, we are the same.
I still do that to some degree.
That's what I was gonna say. Is you seem you just said this is your third podcast. That's you're a walking example of what you just said.
I'm better.
How I am too. That's why I think. That's why I try to keep myself busy, and that's why I'm changing jobs right now, because what I'm doing right now, I'm not doing anything. They don't have anything for me to do. It's big miscommunication thing.
I see it. I know what you mean.
But I don't have anything to do, and I was getting panic attacks because
you're
I was so used to
free time.
Exactly.
Whoa, yeah.
I was so used to going to work or going to school and then doing diving 4 hours a day, in the morning and at night. So it was just so much. And then when it was avoiding whatever was in my head.
Yeah, no.
I'll just address it later, and later never came.
Later never comes because I can never go to sleep. I have to pass out. You know what I mean? I can't just lie in my bed wow, today was fun. That's not what I I have to be so exhausted and just lie in bed and close, and then I just fall asleep. That is the way that I sleep, or I used to anyway. But I'm the same. That's how I function. And that's how I function in college. But, it's only sustainable for so long because you hit, a breaking point. And, I was so busy that I didn't have time to go to, Walgreens and get my medication because I had to like go to a psychiatrist first to get it signed. So all of this. So I didn't take my medication, and FXer is one of those where if you don't take it, like it's like these like pops
brain zaps
go off in your brain. And I was like doing this like.
Wait, can I just interrupt? Did you go off of that in college?
Yes, I did. I don't take it anymore. Yeah.
Off that same medication, and I was a wreck. Dude.
Yeah, dude, me too. I was like, you're hella emotional, right? It's like PMS on overdrive.
And I had to sit out of diving. I was getting those brain zaps in my hands, in my head.
Yeah, I felt like I was being shocked by the U.S. government. Like, I was like, is this mind control? What's happening?
Yeah, it's so bad.
I was like, this is the Patriot Act, like, really enforced. It was so, like, I remember sitting in my car just, like, sobbing and being like, I don't know what's going on. Like, this is so weird. I need to go to, like, a psychiatrist now, but it's, like, 9 o'clock, and I have, like, work, because I was, like, doing, like, an internship, and I was like, well, I don't know what to do. And so then I finally, it took so many things before I finally went to a psychiatrist. But before that is when I I was in the psych ward. Like basically the school considered me a liability. Because I was upfront with them. I hadn't I was supposed to write this entire business plan because I was a business major. Okay. And I had kind of done it, but it wasn't good. And I was so anxious to share it because I knew it could be better. And so I asked for an extension because I was like, hey, I'm really dealing with a lot of mental health stuff right now. I don't think I can. So they had to go to the school counseling center who had to verify it. And then they kind of saw that I was a bit of I had one of those discussions with a counselor who was this overly pretty woman who was oh, okay. Who was very shady and being very fake nice, you know what I mean? But I could tell she was looking for the keywords to be oh, is she gonna kill herself tomorrow and then it's gonna be in the news? It was that's what she was trying to do. Yeah. So she basically considered me a liability and put me in the psych ward, and I wasn't allowed to be on campus because
it's it's being in a mirror. I experienced basically the same
really
thing. But keep going. Yeah.
No, I mean I was basically I feel a little better. I was I don't think I need to be here. I just wanted an extension on this paper and they were well, we just don't think it's safe for you to be out here. And I was talking to other
makes you feel
classmates that similar thing had happened to, and they were oh, it's because if you die off campus, they don't have to put it in their records, right? But if you do it on campus, then it's a whole thing.
Oh fuck, that's fucked
and
up.
I'm but so many schools do that. That's so many students
wait, that's
college campuses have so much shady shit going on, dude.
That's crazy. I thought that it was more if you
they do it under the guise of we care about you, and it's not they don't care about you, but it's it's more to protect themselves. Legally,
because they don't want let's say God forbid you did pass away, I thought that it was so that they could protect their job and wouldn't get fired, which it kind of is.
It kind of is, yeah.
But that's kind of similar to what happened to me but I wanted to go to the hospital a little bit. I was I don't feel safe going home. I know if I go home, I will kill myself. But I was at a college campus where I had to go to a different therapist, and it was the same lady who I actually left one of the sessions because I couldn't stand her and how fake she was. Because she was that type of that sounds fine. Really hard, Drew. And I'm I'm just giving you the backstory. I'm not even telling you what's going on right now.
You were I woke up today and she's that sounds really hard. And you're let me get into it, bitch. There's a lot more you don't know. Yeah.
It was just too fake and I couldn't handle it. And I was no disrespect to you. I can't handle this right now because I don't feel
you're really listening to me.
Right. Or you're just can we be real? Take this therapist hat off and let's get to it. I don't want to stop feeling bad that my brother is heroin or that my parents are split or whatever I'm going through. That's past shit. I'm just telling you to tell you how I got here today. I need to know how to deal with diving or whatever I was going through and schoolwork and whatever. And I think they focus so much on your trauma so they could be well, this is a result of that. And it's but it really
But just
might
help
not
me now.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I think a lot of times therapists, it is nice, but I think it comes off as condescending. And then one of the issues, too, about having mental health issues is that I was talking to somebody about this recently where if you bite your nails or if you're, I twirl my hair so much.
Me too. I shake my leg. I have all of the
tics, and I do that a lot, and it's signs of overactive mind, signs of overstimulation, and your brain, you're not comfortable just sitting and breathing, and that's why I can't meditate, or I have struggles meditating. And I think part of the reason why mental health people, we have such a struggle with being almost too intuitive to things, and I think that's why it hurts so much when somebody is so fake, because we're no, don't act like you're better than me. I'm the one that's struggling with this because my brain is almost like, not to be condescending, but like too smart, you know, where it's like I read too much into things, I think too much into things, I don't see things.
I analyze every single thing. I don't take anything at face value. Mm-hmm. I'm like good at picking up on people's like energies. Like I can sense the vibe, and I'm very much the same way too. Like I like to get right into it. Like I feel like the majority of the people that I like now surround myself with are just like very like real people that will be honest with me, and we can also have fun and also be real at the same time. Right. But I think there's a lot of people that I meet all the time who have this like sense of like putting on a show for you, or they're like, or they're just like corporate. You know what I mean? It's like their corporate work self, and I just cannot. I've never been a person that has been able to lie or like bullshit. And if I do, I'm not good at it. Like, there's a sense of, like, oh, you could tell.
Right, but that's every person that has been on this podcast, especially the people who are going to be on this podcast, have that same quality. Like, Marin, all these people that I was friends, like, she went, the one on the last episode, or 2 episodes ago, she was on my podcast, and she went to high school with me, and is so honest that she's like, she can't handle that fake world well. So it's really difficult when, we're at work and people are like, sales! Sometimes and you're like, hang up on you.
No, and that was what was so hard about being in advertising, and why, like, part of also why I quit that world too is because it is about sugarcoating. It is about and I tried to be in politics. Like, I interned on Capitol Hill, and that wasn't for me either, because it's like it's very fake. It's very like, let's put on a show and like we're helping people, but it's not. You're not actually doing anything. It's the same thing with advertising in these big corporations, where it's just like, hey, we're gonna do a breast cancer themed shirt, and it's like, okay, how is that actually for, like though? Like, literally the Amazon's on fire. Like, climate change is gonna kill all of us. Donald Trump is our president. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are we like sitting around being like, let's be respectable of both sides? It's like, this side wants to kill people. Right. What are we do? Like, I just cannot, like, I know, with the niceties anymore. Like, it's like everyone's just like, oh, but we should all love each other.
But being nice is killing people. I know what you're saying. There's certain,
it's not real.
Right. There's a difference between being positive and being realistic.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
I can be both at certain times when so, but it's really, and I think too why also comedy is so perfect is, yes, there's that fakeness element to it, but when you go up on stage, that's all you, and that's a relief of how you feel.
It's like breathing. Yeah, after a long day of holding in your breath.
Exactly, and doing a set and like, oh yeah.
And it's not, even if the set isn't bad, it's like, oh, at least I grew up in an Indian culture where, like, and as a woman, as person of color or whatever, all of these things, I just feel like I've always been talked over or like kind of dismissed. I'm also literally short. Like, people literally don't see me. Like, I don't even blame them. Yeah. Like, people just run into me in the street all the time, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, didn't see you there." I'm like, "Yep." Okay. But it's and it's just like, I grew up with a lot of like brothers and like uncles and if I didn't, and sometimes I talk so fast because it's like, if I didn't like talk fast, I couldn't like finish what I was saying. Wow. And it's like, it's not like they were like, oh, we're gonna be a misogynist. That's just how men are,
right?
know?
It's not like they're actively thinking, it's just the way the system's set up, so they can be that way.
They just talk louder and over you, and it's like something they have to like recognize before they can stop it. Right. But it's just, it's like 15 men in my family, and I'm like, and I have to like say it fast, or else they'd be like, finish. Right,
I have to say something.
Yeah.
So do you feel like that's and I always ask people this who, come on and either are Jewish or black or whatever, do you think, how is that, obviously, like, has that affected your mental health?
In mental health? Oh, well, because, first of all, Indian people, like, don't understand, like, what mental health is. There's, like, this huge stigma of, oh, it's not real. It's just made up. It's not like a real problem.
Is there a reason why they think it's made up, though?
I don't know what the reason. I don't know. That's a really good question. I know, like, my parents didn't understand it for the longest time, and I think it's the same reason a lot of people don't understand mental health. It's like, because it's not like something that you see. It's like, if my leg is broken, you're like, oh, okay, something happened to your leg and now it's broken. Whereas, like, with your mind or with anxiety, it's just like, oh, you just have a lot of feelings, or you just are just sad. Like, everyone's sad. Like, you'll feel better. Like, it's kind of like, because they can't see it, they don't know how to fix it, and it's like all these stigmas of, oh, that crazy person is, so that's what happened, like, with, I remember in college, like, you know, my brother has bioschizoaffective disorder, and he's, like, so much better now, thank God, but, you know, he was, like, really struggling, and I, you know, was dealing with bipolar, which is what my eventual psychiatrist was like, oh, yeah, this is why you're not feeling better, you're not depressed, you are bipolar.
Are you bipolar 1 or 2?
2.
Okay.
Are you? Like,
No, I got misdiagnosed with 2, but...
Yeah, no, I bipolar too, and like when she gave me that medication, I was like, oh, that feels so much better.
Wow.
Because like you're giving me medication, treating me like I'm depressed, but that's actually upping me, and I was like manic. So I was like, what's going on? So my brother bioschizoaffective, and you know my parents didn't know how to deal with it, and it was like took a lot of conversations for me to be like, you guys have to send him to a psychiatrist, you have to send him to a therapist, he has to be on medication. Like I really had to like fight to make that happen, and they were so scared, they were so confused, they didn't know like what to do. So I felt like I had to like really be there for him and my parents, that they couldn't handle another person also having mental health. So I just like was like, oh, okay, I need to like not deal with my problem so I can help this out. But then that just like made it worse because I just ignored it for the longest time until
and that's how I can relate to that too, because my brother had issues with drug, and he also has Asperger's, so it's like a whole thing. And then my parents were, you know, a lot of the attention was focused on him, which it should have been.
Yeah,
but then I also was like, oh no, I'm okay.
Yeah, like you can't add more burden to them.
Right. They're like, we don't care about your OCD and counting to 3. Like he's shoving a needle in his, you know, like it's so
it seems like like there's a fire here, so
exactly, so you're gonna have to like wait a minute. And so I think, you know, and my parents love me and care about me, but it's just, I think for him it was just, he's a lot to handle, and that's kind of what it sounds like for you. And I think it comes to a point where, like you said, you almost have to be the parent, and you're like, no, this is what you need to do for your son. I'm his sister, and I almost think you almost knew probably what to do because you've also been through it. And it kind of takes one to know one, so able to help him with that.
Well, it's a lot of like encouragement to him of like, there's nothing wrong with you, like this is just that's a chemical imbalance. It's not like you are a bad person, and it's also hard because with mental health, like every single, like even if you had bipolar 2 or I, like even we both have anxiety, like it's not the same in both of us. It's so different for each person. So it's like I was trying to help him, but you know, it's like, you know, with mental health, like I did the same thing. You push them away. You don't want help. You just like want to give up on yourself. And so it's like I had to do that for him, and then also at the same time be like, yo, mom and dad, like this is like, we need to fix this. Like you can't just ignore this and hope he gets better. And for them, you know, they're like immigrant parents. They're like, well, like they used to walk to school without like shoes for an hour. So they're like, what? We like gave you everything. Like you have video games and food and like education and cars. Like how are you depressed? Like they didn't understand that depression is not like based on the stuff you have. It's like a mental thing. Right. So it's just a lot of, and I didn't know. So it's not, I wasn't like an expert. I was just like, all right, let me just learn this shit.
But isn't that scary that mental health has to get to a physical point
before they take you seriously,
before they believe it? Because like you were saying, like, and it comes up again too on this podcast, that people have to get it to a physical part before they believe it. But then when I was thinking about this, like, until my stomach issues were so bad that I was like, I'm shitting blood, like this is getting bad, dude. Yeah, like I'm really stressed, and I know what it's from. Like I know my stomach issues are part of stress, but like this is, I know why. But then people are like, oh shit, you have anxiety now. And it's like, I've had it the whole time before.
Yeah, blood. I told you.
Yeah, exactly. And then also, too, people only believe it's like an illness when they're like, oh, it's a chemical imbalance. And then they only believe it when you're saying it's physical and it's a brain thing. But if you're like, I'm sad, and you don't say I have a disorder, it's like, no, get over it. But
yeah,
if you're like, I am clinically diagnosed.
Doggy.world.
Like, exactly. You got to be tough. But then when they say... Yeah, but then when they...
It's the reality of it is a lot different than, like, what you... Like, it's like one thing people are like, I'm there for you, but, like, it's hard to be there for someone every single day and every single time. You're right. You know, like, I still go through, like, I'm on medication now, so it's like I'm a lot better, but I still go through depressive episodes. And, you know, like, I know my patterns. I know what I do. Like, I know I just kind of, like... Now I don't have, like... I don't get suicidal thoughts anymore. That's great. Which is... Huge improvement.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And like now I know you know, it's like now I know when I'm really sad and when I'm depressed. Like I know the difference,
right.
And all of it's like it just takes time to learn how you become depressed. It's like oh, like whenever I start like just like shutting myself off from people and like kind of just going into my room every day and just like binge watching TV and like not eating, I'm like, oh, okay, something's going on, something's up, and then I just kind of wait it out. You know, people are like, you know, seasonal affective disorder is a thing. Yeah. Like, I guess I have that in the sense that I have depression every season. It's just like
doesn't matter what season.
Yeah, but I'm like jealous of seasonal affective. I'm like, oh, you guys only get one season. Like, that sounds nice. Actually, I would love that.
Yeah, me every season.
Yeah, that's every month. Yeah, every quarter. I got a depression episode.
That's cool. You only get during. Yeah.
Jealous. One day.
Only during winter. Yeah, of course you're depressed.
Who isn't depressed during winter? It's dark and cold. People who say winter is their favorite season, I'm like so annoyed. I'm like,
well, it's the people who. Yeah, it's the people who are smiling all the time.
Or people in like California. I'm like, you guys don't really have winter though.
No, their winter is like shorts and a sweatshirt.
No,
it's not.
I lived in California. It's not. It's not winter.
In LA, right?
In San Francisco, which is actually
colder. Right. That's
in LA. There's like not even a semblance. Like there's no winter. Like it's like 60 degrees, 70 degrees. I'm like, this is like the other summer in Chicago.
Yeah, the other day I went to. I wore my coat on the way to work. It was 70 degrees.
I know.
And then I took it off because I was like, oh, I don't need a coat. And on my way back from work, somebody was like, it's so fucking cold out. And I was like, oh, he's being a pussy. And I looked at the weather, and from 9 to 5, it changed from 70 to 45 degrees. And I was like, what
Chicago.
is Chicago.
It's climate change. The earth is depressed. Mother Earth is depressed.
Cool. We are back from break. Never say we're taking a break. That's just going to be how it is for the rest of the podcast.
Back from break. We just had it great. We just, we had some dinner. I know. We just stayed right here.
Talked about schizophrenia.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Okay, so, I wanted to just bring up some topics. One person submitted one, and we'll talk about that for a second, and then we're going to talk about panic attacks, which I think would be great to discuss. So first question, it was just, what's the most damaging stereotype about schizophrenia? Which I know you said your brother has. So for those of people who don't know, because I'm sure we didn't explain what the difference is between having schizophrenia and then bioschizoaffective disorder is. Do you want to explain?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like an expert, so I'm sure part of this is like wrong. But bioschizoaffective is like you have symptoms of schizophrenia, but it's not like you don't fully have schizophrenia. So he had, symptoms like hearing voices in his head and like having delusions, but it wasn't like this. It wasn't as horrible and debilitating as schizophrenia can be. And there's also different types.
And it's kind of just a criteria thing.
Yeah.
Because it's like you don't fit exact, because I majored in psychology, which I never really bring up, but like that was my other degree in psychology. So basically like the differences between, a lot of the things is just fitting things in a textbook. And, some of the things is you meet 4 out of 5 of this, and if you meet 3 out of 5, you don't have it. Doesn't mean you're not affected, but it means you really just don't have it by textbook and you're not diagnosed with it. So that's why a lot of people get misdiagnosed, just because they might think at the time the therapist is like, well, it could meet this, so you have this. And it's like, well, it took only one doctor.
And it's so subjective.
Yeah.
So subjective. It's like, oh, does this person seem like they're having delusions? Like, maybe they're just not sharing it with you, or you know what I mean? So
that's like half of like surveys that say X, Y, Z, and you're like, well, who's really going to report how they're feeling about this, So I think for me, what my take on the most damaging stereotype would be that they're crazy. Because even if you're in the hospital, even when I was talking to Carly, I was like, look, I got help because I saw people who were schizophrenic, and I thought, at least I'm not that. Which, yes, it's a little bit damaging to think that, but at the same time, in my mind, I was like, at least, and then I think, wow, that's so damaging to even think. Like, but that is me internalizing a stereotype that they're quote unquote crazy. And I heard that recently they're trying to they're trying to ban the word crazy, kind of how they banned like the R word and stuff like that, which would be interesting in terms of, I think they should ban it. So many
guys are not going to be able to call their ex-girlfriends crazy. What are they going to say? She was normal and I was the problem.
Yeah, exactly. She had a chemical imbalance. Which is okay. But I think also it's interesting to look at, how I internalize things and then apply that while I was in the psych ward, quote unquote, which is also a word that, like, I don't even think should be. But I use it because most people are like, oh, psych ward. Like, it's associated with mental health facility. Yeah. And sometimes I say mental health facility and people are like, what? And I'm like, I'll just say psych ward and have them know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I think the most damaging thing is that they're crazy, and it's like, even what I thought, and I'll admit it, I was like, at least I'm not that, and at least I'm not
crazy. I've thought that too.
Exactly. And I think It could even happen to me. I mean, sometimes it affects people when they turn 25. Knock on wood, it doesn't happen to me or you, but it's a genetic thing. I mean, it's also in my blood. My mom's aunt had it.
Yeah, my grandpa, same.
Yeah, and I mean, even your brother has symptoms of it. It's just there's certain people that it affects families, and I think the damaging thing is that it's an easy way to put off somebody.
Yeah,
it makes sense. An easy way to be like, oh, they're just crazy.
Yeah, and that's what bothers me about it, man. Like about that stereotype of like, with any mental health of calling someone crazy or especially with schizophrenia, calling someone crazy, and it's like they're not crazy. It's like they're untreated. You know, it's like if you leave someone starving, they're gonna be hungry, but that's like a temporary state. If you give them food, then they're no longer hungry. So it's not like who they are. It's like a temporary thing that is them. And it's like so maybe they're acting like, you know, crazy because they're untreated, and it's like maybe we should treat them, and then they no longer will be crazy. And that's how I think of it. Like it's like to me, you know, he was really struggling in it, and it's so hard for me to think about, because it's like, it's one thing when I suffer and I'm like, whatever, I'll take it, but it's like to watch like your younger brother go through it, especially, and it's like younger too. It's like and it's like I love him so much, and it's like and we just handled it so differently. Like I never let it affect my like grades, because it was so weird. Of all the things, that was like the one thing that I was like, okay, I can do classes. I'm having trouble talking to people, or sleeping or eating, but I could, if I just focus on all of this. I took like I think I took like 6 AP classes and just like studied and read all the time, and I was like crushed all of those exams. It's a distraction. I was like, okay, it gave me like a reason to like live, because I was like, okay, I'm doing this and I'm getting good grades. I'm doing this and I'm getting good grades. Okay, so I am not totally a waste of space. And it's so weird. It's like the one thing that like honestly kept me hanging on, because I was like, I'm putting something in, I'm getting something out, because I didn't necessarily feel that way with like people or with, you know, my life. But he dealt with it completely differently. Like he like cut off his friends. He like stopped going to class. He's like stopped, you know, talking to my parents. And it's like, and it's like, you know, people called him crazy, and he even thought he was crazy. He's like, oh, I'm just crazy. Like, I'm not worth it. And I'm like, that's not true.
And that's also a good way to not deal with your feelings. Just like, oh, I'm crazy. But it's like, but then once you get in touch with yourself, you're like, oh, I have to deal with this or whatever. And that was the same way with me with school. I attempted suicide, and I still had like 3.7 GPA.
Yeah, same. I was like crushing it on paper. Yeah.
Oh, on paper, I was a GPA booster for my diving team. I was going to practice 4 hours a day or whatever, and then they gave me like 4 months off, like for depression or whatever, to like, which was really nice of them to not compete. But I still like went to practice, watched practice, and then sometimes I didn't. But I was still working on my schoolwork, knowing like I'm working on my schoolwork to go back to diving, but I was still feeling horrible, and it's just. Well,
it's like from the outside, everything always seems fine.
Yeah.
You know, it was the same with me. Like, honestly, a lot of people didn't know, and still are like, wow, I can't even imagine you'd be depressed. Because even when even in Chicago, when I'm depressed, people don't know I'm like just talkative and nice and smiling.
Are you a high functioning?
Yeah.
That's how I am too.
Yeah, it's like that's how I am too. I'm like, I just want to make sure I'm so afraid of being a burden on someone. And I will absolutely not be, but that's like my biggest concern. And I'm like, oh, I'm just waiting to go to my room so I can cry.
Do you say it like I'm fine a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
I'm like, oh, I'm fine. I'll even say it to myself, I'm fine. I'm fine. And it's like, I'm not fine. I was saying it. I wanted to talk about this. Like, I was saying I'm fine for like the past like I think 6 months. Like I was just kind of, you know, trying to do everything, like just between comedy and between like work, and both of which are so draining. I was like not sleeping. I was eating like maybe once a day. I was not exercising. I had like 3 to 4 hours of sleep a day, and I did that for like probably, you know, like April through, you know, August. And that's a long time. And it's like it worked, right? But then like the seal broke. I was like going through a breakup, and there was some stuff going on with my family, and then stuff, you know, I got in this like thing with my friend, and I was just so stressed all the time that I was becoming this like monster of a person. Like I was just so like, I don't have a minute to waste. So if anything was late or not off, I was just full-blown anxiety. Oh, like, this can't be this can't be that. I was just mean to everyone. I was just this worse version of myself. And I had a breaking point. I was in LA at this conference, and I was in my hotel room, and I like woke up to this text from my ex-boyfriend, from a friend, from my mom, and it was just like all coming at me at once. Oh my God. And I had like the worst panic attack of my like entire life. Like, I've had panic attacks before. I usually just like sit through them and just like wait for it to pass. Right. But this was like my like Apple Watch was going off because I actually thought it was a heart attack. Like, I went to the ER because I was like, oh, this is a heart attack. And it wasn't a heart attack, thankfully. But it was real bad. And I went to a doctor. I went home to DC for a week and talked to a doctor, and he was like, yo, you're going to get a heart attack at 26 if you keep living like this. You need to like meditate. You need to like chill out. And I was like, oh, I've always made fun of meditating. That's bullshit. Right. Turns out it's not bullshit, actually. No. Turns out it's just breathing and learning to chill.
You're doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, which I've kind of been implementing for the past like month.
How has that been for you?
It sounds so like turnaround story, but I'm the happiest that I've been in a long time. Oh, I quit my job, and great. I had such incredible coworkers and like great pay, and so it really wasn't it. But I was like, I'm just not like happy. Yeah. And I quit my job, and I was like, and just like now I have like free time, and I used to be so afraid of free time, but now I like enjoy it. I like, I still make my own like schedule because I'm crazy, but like I like wake up at this time, and I like meditate, and then I worked out, and then I read, and then I like make breakfast, and then I answer emails, and I do my own like thing, but it's like I'm so less stressed. Like I'll just lie on my bed for an hour and not do anything and be totally happy. So I'll just listen to music and not do anything. And I'm like, it's like so weird. I'm like, I feel like I'm listening to music for the first like certain albums where I'm like, wow, I can hear it.
Yeah, exactly. You're just like, it's listening versus hearing things. And, and I 100% get that. And it's being that busy. I've had that so many times, panic attacks, when I'm like you said in the beginning. I mean, I can't fall asleep ever. Every time I'm like, when my boyfriend say like goodnight, I just start going
yeah, what do I do now?
And then I just, because it's like silent, and I'm not good, and I think I'm working on listening and like not interrupting people in terms of conversation. I think I get so diarrhea of the mouth a lot because if there's silence, that means it's awkward, and if it's awkward, that means they don't like me, and then it's like this whole.
And then you build this whole thing in your head
that I'm bad or worthless or whatever, and then it's just like it's not a good cycle. So I think it's important that's why it's important to meditate, to learn how to like almost deal with that feeling of nothing.
Silence is important. Life is about the lulls, dude. It's like the people that you're closest to, like you could be silent with them and it's fine, right? And it's like the same thing with your like the lulls are like where you have time to breathe and formulate your thoughts and just chill for a second. And I literally sound like a hippie, and like literally 2 months ago I would have been like, what, I would never be that.
Yeah.
But it feels like a shit, like that panic attack was like a blessing in disguise.
Right, but it doesn't sound like hippie coming from somebody who's been through the other side. It always sounds like bad when it's like the therapist who's like, it sounds really hard, and you're like, but you haven't been through anything. You haven't shared anything with me to make you like, why are you the way you are? But the fact that you're, I went through this and now I'm this is because you've made that whole entire transition. So you don't sound like you're being whatever, that
I wouldn't
stereotypical
it's
thing.
just something that I would never like have thought would actually happen. I just thought the rest of my life would be like this. I would always just be stressed doing all these jobs and never feeling like I was caught up to anything or anyone. And now I don't know. I just decided that day in the hospital, I was like, I just want to be happy more than anything else. Like, comedy is a long road. I don't want this. There's no overnight success. No. The definition of making it is so different.
So subjective.
And it's like, I'm not in a rush, like whatever, whether I'm, it's like, I'll just keep doing it for as long as I can and just be happy about it.
Like,
and I'm grateful for where I am. And I'm just, I'm like living with two great people now, and I'm just like happy, like to wake up every day and actually go to sleep.
Carly and Molly.
Yeah, they're the best. They're like super positive, and it's like, And now I like know what I need to like everything you do is like you're feeding yourself, right? So it's like I'm going to therapy and I'm taking medication, which, you know, is like the medical aspect of it, but also like surrounding myself with, you know, people who are positive and people who are also like doing shit, right? Like artists and comics who are like standing up for what they believe in and like talking and like also just fucking around and having fun. And
I love that.
And it's like, I'm doing that, so that's like also how you're feeding yourself. And then also just like the things you read and the things you write and the way you talk to yourself, like all of that. And it's not like I figured any of it out. I'm actively trying. I'm still filled with anxiety. I think this guy I like texted me and I was like, oh my god, I can't respond. This is so, and I like went into my like old patterns. But it's like, you know, it's fine. And just happier now.
Everything's gonna be fine.
Exactly.
That's the thing is too, where recently I've noticed this myself, where I'm like, what can I actually do to not even just challenge my thoughts, but like address the root of the problem of anxiety, of overstimulation and feeling like everything's a rush. Everything is just like, I texted my dad. I texted my dad because I saw it said the 4th, right? October 4th. And I was like, oh my god, happy birthday. I talked to you for an hour today and I didn't even say happy birthday. He's like, Drew, like my birthday was a month ago. And I was like, oh my, like, and I did wish him happy birthday a month ago. Oh, but like, I just
freaked out.
Just thought, do you know what I mean? Like my brain is just so
went into high overdrive.
And so recently, even when I get home, I'm like, I had to put my keys away in the right compartment and this in the right compartment. And then recently I'm like, every time I do exposure therapy with myself now, because I went through a program, and when I get home and I'm like, my keys are on the table and they're not in my backpack, I'm like, I'm not gonna forget my keys. Just I like let him sit there and I'm like, just take a deep breath. Everything's gonna be okay. I don't have to like force myself to rush, because I think a lot of times too, when I talk to my grandpa, because my grandpa's like kind of where I got my humor from, and he's like, you need to stop taking life so seriously, because he's like 80. He's like, and my grandpa's really successful, so I really look up to him. Like he's 83 and has his own dental practice and still runs it.
Oh my god.
No, he's incredible. It's kind of like awesome. Age is nothing but a number thing. Where he looks like he's 70, and so it's great. But coming from somebody that's a huge role model to me, and he's like, you just need to stop caring and like not take life so seriously, because he's old. So it's like when somebody
he's probably right, and I mean he is right.
Exactly. Yeah, I know, because I tell him all this stuff, and I tell him all the stuff that I've been through, and he's like, look, like he's like, you need to take a deep breath and realize that like none of this matters.
And he's totally right. Yeah. And it's like one of those things that you like have to kind of realize for yourself, though, because it's like people have told me that my whole life. People have told me to meditate or relax or chill out or, you know, not take life seriously. And I'm like, oh, you're wrong. Like and I just didn't listen to them. And, you know, I think you have to be ready to receive that information. And I don't think I was ready until like this year. Right. To really understand that, like, it's like we put so much time into caring about all these things and let these things have energy over us. I know. And then I think about what's actually important. It's like, you know, like when, you know, someone you love is sick or something happens and you're like, oh, none of this matters. I know. Like, it's like I'm so worried about this one set or this person responding to my text or this getting booked here or like this friend. It's like, no, everything will work itself out. Like I'm on this new mantra now. Again, sounds so new age, but I repeat it to myself now of like surrender to universe. As in, there's things that you can control, which is, you know, my outlook, my work ethic, you know, how much I write, you know, all of that. Yeah. That I will, you know, full blown care about. But the stuff that I can't control, how other people see me or feel about me, or, you know, the stuff in my like brain I can't control, like all of that, like I can't let it get to me or try to control it. I do this thing where I try to control everything so then my anxiety will go away, but my anxiety just increases.
Right,
when
because
things
you
don't
care
go
too
my
much.
way. Yeah, and because I care too much. And it's like, it doesn't fucking matter. It's like all these things you're like, oh, if I do this, then maybe this person will like me. Or if I do this, maybe this set will go well. It's like, no, like, actually the only answer is like you just fucking be yourself.
Exactly.
And the people who like you will like you, and the things that are supposed to happen will happen. Yeah. It's like you can only control your bullshit, not other people.
Exactly.
And it's like, yeah, duh, but it just took me the longest time.
No, and it does, and it's great that you know, are even there now. Because, I mean, I've seen this before, too. I've talked to 50-year-olds who are like, this took me 30 years longer than it did for you to figure out. And Yeah, there's certain things that happen where, like, recently I submitted a clip to a show, and they were like, hey, can you send a second clip? And I never have gotten that before. Yeah. And I was like, well, if I don't get the show,
how long was the clip?
It was like 5 minutes.
Okay, maybe they wanted to see a longer set.
I know, but then in my head I was like, well, they hate me and they don't think I'm funny. And then I'm like, wait, what's the worst that's gonna happen? They don't think I'm funny and I don't get booked on one show in the whole city.
Whatever.
That doesn't matter. And if I do, yes, I would love to do it, and that's great. But like, what, it's like, and then I realized, like, when things happen, like you said, like when somebody gets sick, you're like, is that the thing I'm gonna be thinking about?
No,
exactly.
It's not. And also, like, it's like, fuck that shit. It's like it doesn't matter. Like, I spent so much time worrying about, why did this person get this hosting gig? Why did I, like, and all of these things. And it's like also part of it is just like I need to learn to be happy for other people's successes. Yes. And then also just like realize that, like, the only thing I can do is I can improve, right? If I become so undeniably this, then that person will have no choice but to book me. And it's like, and then yes, there's a lot of other factors involved, that stuff that I can't control. Like I can't control that some bookers are misogynistic or racist or not into humor about politics. Like, that's whatever. It's like I think we're in an era now where it's like you can find your own audience, you can find your own group, and you can find your own, like, voice and figure it out. And it's like you don't have to try to, like, mold yourself into something that other people want. Like,
exactly.
Just do whatever the fuck you want. Like, who cares?
I know. And it's funny because I believe in karma for the mere fact that it helps me get through stuff. Like, I've heard too where, like, I knew somebody that kind of got offered less money than a white comic, and that really bothered me. Yeah. And I was like, but that's going to come back to bite them in the ass. Like, you just have to think, like, something else great will happen. Forget about it. It sucks, but that's on them. Yeah. You had nothing to do with that. Your skin color is your skin color no matter what.
And you can't control it.
And it sucks that they're going to treat you this way, but you have to think of it as, like, not hopefully, but it might come to bite them in the ass. Yeah. And they're going to have to sleep at night knowing that they did that.
Right.
So I kind of take that away from a lot of things, especially in comedy too, where, I've crushed at certain shows and I don't get booked again, and then the white comic that bombed gets booked more than me, and it's like, whatever. And then I'm like, whatever, and now I'm just going to have to work harder, and that motivates me to work harder. So then I see it as kind of everything happens for a reason, because I'm like, oh, this actually motivates me to write more and make my set even better than it was, even though it's fucking good. Like, even though I had a great set. Exactly. Like, so I think...
Well, it's like not everyone's gonna, like... You could be the greatest comic in the world and people will still not like you. And it's like, no... It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
It's just like... I just... I think... For the longest time, I had all these plans that I wanted to be this and that and that and here. Yeah. I wanted to be in New York and then I wanted to be here. And then I'm like, I just want to be happy now.
Good for you. Honestly, I know that sounds so, like, it's like, I want to be happy. That's cliche, but it's not. It's so important to take care of yourself before.
I never prioritized happiness. I never prioritized myself. I was like, the priority was, being successful or like being in a relationship or like, being this and that. It was never
especially coming from like a happiness. Jewish or like a culture that's like praised on like success.
Your accomplishments are everything. Yeah.
Doctor, lawyer, that's everything in the Jewish culture.
I was in a wedding this weekend. I had to tell people, like, oh yeah, like, I'm unemployed, I'm single, I'm just figuring it out. I'm just figuring it out. Like, I'm at the beginning of my Netflix like, movie. What is it? Yeah. And I was like, I'm really happy. Like, fuck you. Like, I could have a job at Apple or wherever the hell I want to next week. I could, be with people that if I wanted to be. I'm choosing to be this, to be where I am right now, because this is what I need.
Take care of yourself.
For me. And it's like, so what? I don't care what anyone thinks of me. I don't care what I think.
So for even like people who are listening, do you think that you got to that point because you kind of went through all this bullshit? Like, what's the one? I know it sounds stupid, but like, there's one thing that I can tell you too. Like, there's one thing that changed me and kind of just changed me in the sense of like, kind of helped me with my depression and stuff like that. I told this on a previous podcast, but basically what happened was I was in the hospital and I was cutting myself and stuff like that. Not in the hospital, but before that, and I attempted suicide. And I went in and this one dude looked at me and he was like, I'm just going to let you know, like, there's going to be a point where you cut yourself and like, it's going to hurt. And that really...
Wow.
I like really got to me, and I was like, okay, there's a certain point where like I have to get to myself and I'm like, you're hurting yourself. Yeah. You're not numb. Yeah. Like, you're a person too. Like everybody else in this world
It's so interesting that your body puts up a fight even when your mind doesn't. Like, there were so many times where I planned so many different ways to kill myself. I only went through, I tried to strangle myself with a laptop cord. Didn't work, and it didn't work because I didn't want it to work, you know, because I didn't do it hard enough, and I didn't want to do it hard enough because I still had like some like will to live in there,
right?
And I think for me, the thing that helped for the longest time was like helping other people. Like for a while it was my brother, and then I, you know, did this whole mental health campaign in college where I had other people share their stories, and like people were writing to me saying how it was helping them, and I was like, it was so weird when other people were going through it. I was like, oh my God, how could you think this of yourself? You were me. But then it's like I couldn't do that to myself. So it's like I sometimes have to take myself out of my own like narrative of like, oh, everything feels so horrible for you, but actually there's just this whole other world of stuff happening, and where other people are actually going through the same thing, and also, you know, climate change and all this other shit. So it's like you just it's just you have to like zoom out, and you're like, okay, like this is still bad, like my mind sucks for me, but like there's a lot more I can do to be beneficial. And like, you know, being like I'm the big brothers big sisters thing, and just like talking to kids or just talking to other people, it's just like you like realize your worth is more than just the grades or your career or like how good of a set you have. It's like you've actually helped other people with their lives.
Yeah, there's nothing better
so
than
much more meaningful.
Having a good set and being happy. Do you know how many sets I've had that are good that I've cried afterward just because I'm also depressed?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
And it doesn't matter. Like
Nothing
people are like, doesn't that feel
happy.
good? And I'm like, no, but I'm depressed right now, so I'm gonna go cry.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit that you laughed. Good for you. But then they're like, no, you should care about yourself. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like
you should actually give a shit about yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Like I am a person. So, okay, that's great. And so we're wrapping up with time, but where can people find you? Also, you want to talk about, for a brief second, like what you did with that, like gender equal rights campaign and stuff like that?
I worked on this was through my job. I worked on this like gender equality campaign for Melinda Gates, which was really cool. Got to like write for all these like awesome comedians,
Sarah
like,
Silverman,
and John Mulaney, and like it was Maya Rudolph and Ilana and Abby. It was awesome. It was really cool, and it was awesome. But I left so I could write for myself. Right. But yeah, no, that was cool. But yeah, no, people can find me on, I'm mostly on Instagram and Twitter. I would say megindurti.com spelled out, and then just Meg Indurti on Twitter. You can follow me there.
And your podcast, right?
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
You also have a podcast.
I also have a podcast.
Doing too much, okay.
Yeah, called Ronnie Rage Radio, where it's a discourse in discomfort, where we talk about the things that people don't really want us to talk about, like mental health and sex and periods and all of that stuff. So you guys should definitely give it a listen if you're interested.
Yeah, great. Okay, so don't forget to like, rate, review, subscribe, Doing Time Podcast, every platform. Thank you for watching Doing Time.